Welcome Kumas to another World of Warcraft guide. You're here with Kuma. With the increasing number of new and returning players coming back to World of Warcraft for patch 7.2.5, asking me the best ways to prepare their characters for the new content as quickly as possible, this week I will be giving you my tips for getting your ults and new characters up to speed as quick as possible. As you can imagine, having done this on multiple toons for endgame content means I've gone through this process a few times and become exceedingly efficient at it. So I wanted to share with you my tips to hopefully save you some time as well as make your life a bit easier. Okay, let's get started. As soon as you hit level 110, the first thing you're going to want to do is go onto your main character and buy the Artifact Knowledge Compendium and mail it over to your ult. This will allow your ult to skip to your main's current artifact research tier, whether it be level 10, 20, 30 or 40. As you can imagine, this will significantly increase the amount of artifact power you receive and will speed up the process of leveling your legendary artifact weapon. I do recommend sticking to one specialization until you max it out, because the artifact level of your legendary weapon will increase in power as well as item level, which in turn boosts your average item level. So leveling multiple weapons at the same time will slow this process down. So stick to one weapon and spec and level the other ones later. You're also going to want to pick up the Shoulder Enchant, Boon of the Scavenger off the AH, or craft it on your enchanting toon so you can pick up Shal'dorei Silk from mobs you kill until you hit the required reputation of the faction of your choosing and purchase their Shoulder Enchant from their quartermaster. I have a video on these which I will link in the description below to help you choose which one is right for you. Now this next step is optional, but since World Quest rewards and World Quest chest drops scale based on your average item level, you may wish to invest in some cheap gear from the auction house. This will make the gearing process a little quicker, but if you don't feel like spending the gold, don't feel too bad since I never did this on my ults either. If you are, however, interested in saving some time and gold isn't an issue, I would recommend checking out on the auction house for the level 880 Nighthold Cloak as well as level 850, 855 LFR items. Both of these will boost your item level significantly, and on my server cost between 1,000 to 2,000 gold each, sometimes less. So they're not entirely a bad option for a quick and easy average item level boost, which will enable you to get higher item level rewards from the start. You can also consider buying your crafted legendary as soon as you hit level 101. I could never personally justify buying a crafted legendary for one of my ults, because personally I think I'm going to get one very quickly once I start doing LFR and world quests, so I'd rather spend the gold on a WoW token, but it is up to you. As soon as you've done this, you're going to start wanting to go through your class campaign that unlocks as soon as you hit max level. The reason for this is because you need to complete your class campaign in order to unlock your third legendary relic slot as well as your secondary legendary item slot through your class hall upgrade. Both of these will significantly increase your average item level, as legendaries currently hold an item level of 940, so having two of them is quite a big boost, while the relic at an item level of 870 increases the item level of your legendary weapon by 50. That is a lot. Not to mention that completing the campaign is also a prerequisite to unlocking an additional class order hall champion slot once you complete the Champions of the Legion Fall achievement later on, as well as your class mount. Now the class order hall class campaign is quite linear, so just keep doing the quests until you receive 3 quests in one go. One of them is going to ask you to complete 5 order hall missions, which are not going to take more than an hour. The other one is going to ask you to complete 20 world quests, and the third is going to ask you to complete a dungeon. Once you pick up these 3 quests, queue up for your dungeon and get yourself to Dalaran, where Khadgar will give you a quest to go to the Broken Shore. As soon as you've arrived at the Broken Shore, more specifically Deliverance Point, Khadgar will give you a series of linear quests. One of them will require you to gather power from 3 locations to use them to power up your artifact weapon. This is going to unlock your artifact levels beyond level 35. He will then ask you to meet him in Dalaran, where he will give you a quest for each one of your artifact weapon specializations. But because I recommend you only complete one specialization and focus on one artifact weapon, just do one of these quests, whichever spec you intend to play, and do the others later on. This will unlock further artifact research levels for your weapon. Now this is mostly for the people that are playing this toon as a main, and if you have an ult you would have already skipped quite a few levels, but you're going to need to do this quest anyway in order to unlock further research levels later on. Feel free during this process to complete any world quests on the Broken Shore, because besides artifact power, they will also reward you some gear as well as Nethershards and Legionfall war supplies, as well as count towards your world quest for your class campaign quest. As soon as you get 100 Legionfall war supplies, hand them in at Deliverance Point towards creating a building, as you will be given artifact power and also have a chance to get a Dauntless gear token, which when used will give you an item of item level 850 plus. They also have a chance to drop a legendary. Hold off on spending your Nethershards, as you can spend them later for item level 880 relinquish tokens, but you should only do this after you have collected all your world quest rewards, looking for raid loot, as well as your 1 to 2 legendaries. The last thing you want to do is spend 5,000 Nethershards for a piece of gear only to double up with something you get an hour later. Also, make sure to collect the buff from the NPC next to the crafting table at Deliverance Point. You will see this as a blue question mark, as when a building is active, it will grant you a unique buff until it is destroyed. You can't stop it from being destroyed, so don't even bother. Also, another tip I will give you is that when the Nether Distributor is built, make sure to visit it every single day to collect your Seal of Broken Fate. This seal will give you a bonus roll on boss kills. You should bonus roll world bosses or high tier bosses in raids such as Gul'dan or the Tomb of Sargeras. Don't waste them on dungeons, it's not worth it. On the other hand, when the Mage Tower is built, it will uncover chests scattered across the Broken Shore that contain Nethershards, Legionfall war supplies, artifact power, and possibly gear tokens. Pick these up as you fly around the Broken Shore. When the command center is active, on the other hand, it will spawn a command table at Deliverance Point, as well as difficult missions that grant Nethershards, Legionfall war supplies, and artifact power. These are 3 separate missions. One of them is going to give you a lot of artifact power. The second one is going to give you 500 Legionfall war supplies. And the third is going to give you 7,500 Nethershards. That's almost 1.5 pieces of 880 gear, or an entire set of 850 gear if you wish to pimp out your character right away. So definitely do these missions. This is where those champions from your class campaign will come in handy. You should, whenever possible, do the Legion invasion in whichever zone it spawns. This is the quickest way to get Nethershards, not to mention those invasions count as world quests and count towards the zone bonus world quest chest quest, if it's available on that particular day. I know that is a mouthful, but every single zone will give you a quest where if you complete 4 quests in that particular day, it will give you a chest, and this chest will give you artifact power, it will give you gold, it will give you gear, and it also has a chance to drop a legendary. Not to mention that when you complete the Legion invasion, you're going to get bonus loot at the end of the invasion as well. Do these every time they come up. There's a minimum of 1 popping up every single day, and it lasts several hours, so don't panic if you miss one of them. Also, make sure to pick up the Dalaran weekly bonus quest just outside of the Violet Hold in Dalaran. These sometimes vary in rewards as well as requirements, but sometimes you finish these just by doing the things you're going to do inside this guide anyway. Some of them are PvP rewards, some of them ask you to do 20 world quests, some of them ask you to go to dungeons, and some of them ask you to go to PvP brawls. So chances are you're going to fulfill the requirement anyway, so you might as well get the reward. By this point, you should already have an item level of 825 or more. If you don't, and there are no other world quests active that reward you with gear upgrades, then spend some of your Nethershards on that item level 850 Dauntless tokens until you hit item level 825. Now, as soon as you hit item level 825, you can queue for Looking for Raid as well as Heroic Dungeons. Looking for Raid is great because it's quick and easy, it will give you gold as well as gear upgrades, and you also have a good chance of getting a legendary drop. After you complete your entire full clear of LFR, you should by now have your first legendary. Given how much Blizzard has increased the drop rate for them, all the things you have been doing so far, like the opening the world quest chests, world quests themselves, and whatnot, all increase your likelihood of getting your legendary. Now, all of my ults at level 110 by this stage have already had their first or second legendary. My druid especially got his second legendary by this time, before my main even got his legendary, which is effing bullshit because I barely ever play my druid. All the things you have been doing so far, like the world quest chests, the LFR, all of that increases the likelihood of you getting your next legendary drop. All of my ults have by this point already had at least 1 or 2 legendaries. My druid in particular ended up getting his second legendary before even my main. Now, a big tip that I am going to give you for looking for a raid is to make a macro that asks people for gear that they don't need. Mine simply mentions that I've just hit the item level required for looking for raid and would be grateful for any piece of gear for my specific class that they do not need. You would be amazed how many people whisper you and give you an item, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, working together and helping each other out. If you get bored doing PvE content and you want to do a little bit of PvP, don't panic, because this can also give you some item upgrades. Winning battlegrounds, doing brawls, winning arenas, winning raided battlegrounds, and world PvP quests all reward you with gear, most of which is item level 870 and above, which is an awesome boost, and it's going to let you play endgame content anyway. The best part is when you're in a battleground, your item level is going to scale with everyone else in the battleground. So even if you've just hit level 110 and you're playing in a battleground, your item level and their item level is going to be exactly the same, so you're not going to be disadvantaged. This is the awesome thing about playing with alts in Legion. You're not disadvantaged because you're playing in alt. Now, if on the other hand you prefer playing PvE, you do have Mythic Dungeons. Mythic Dungeons are like the old heroic dungeons back in BC Wrath of the Lich King, but on crack. They vary from standard Mythic, which upon completion gives you a key, which is like a +2 Mythic key that allows you to do another Mythic dungeon, but on a higher difficulty. This continues all the way on up until +10, which is the +10 key, which is the +10 difficulty of a Mythic dungeon. But don't worry, the cool thing is the more difficult the Mythic dungeon that you do, the better that the loot you get from it. And another good thing is that in your order hall, a chest will spawn that next week will give you a piece of loot from the highest Mythic that you did in the previous week. So if you get absolutely no gear upgrade that particular week when you're doing Mythic dungeons, the next week you're going to get a piece of gear from the highest Mythic that you did. So if you did, example, a +5 this week, next week you're going to get a 100% guaranteed drop from +5 Mythic. And hopefully that's going to be an upgrade. This is especially nice if you did Mythic and you already got your upgrades this week, because next week you're going to be double dipping essentially. Now, one piece of advice that I will give you for getting into a Mythic group, because you can't just use the looking for group finder, you have to manually apply for groups, is use humor. You have no idea how many times over the years humor has gotten me into a raid group and a Mythic group. My favorites are, I'm an item level, say 890 hunter that doesn't stand in the fire, or I'm an item level 880 hunter that uses MD. Little bits of humor like this will help you stand out when applying for groups. You might have a lower item level, but you have a sense of humor, and chances are they are going to pick you. Now don't worry, once you start the Mythic dungeon, they're going to be stuck with you, especially if they're doing a chest run. So if they invite you and they start doing the dungeon, they can't really get rid of you. So even if they are carrying your ass a little bit, you'll be fine. I know some of you guys are going to get angry at me for saying this, but it's true. Now I am going to upload a video of me doing Mythic Karazhan for the very first time. Later on in the week, I think, and it's going to be hilarious because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and at the end of completing it, I ended up getting my achievement for completing Karazhan. So I had no idea what I was doing, and they carried me through a key Mythic. So it's pretty funny, and the reaction at the end is just glorious. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this guide useful. If you did, hit me up in the comment section below. And if you are going to comment, make sure you leave a like, because it's always nice to feel appreciated and it does help the video and the channel. And also be sure to share with a friend. Now, you should check out my World of Warcraft Let's Play playlist, because that is where I upload my non-guide World of Warcraft videos where I'm just having fun, trying things out for the first time, and reacting to things like I mentioned, the Mythic Karazhan. I did the vanilla, what was it called, South Shore and Taran Mill Brawl for the very first time, so fun things like that. So make sure to check out that playlist, make sure to hit me up in the comment section, make sure to share with a friend, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video, you know all that good stuff. So don't forget, Tuesday is World of Warcraft guides, Monday I upload Danganronpas, and Fridays I upload horror. Now in between, I am going to upload some Overwatch Russian reacts and maybe some WoW Let's Plays. So stay tuned. Till then, Ninja Kuma out. Bye!